Me. So I hope you have had a good day so far and you can hear me well. So I will now share my presentation about the master's course in clinical nutrition. Yes, very good. You can hear me. That's perfect. Thank you very much. So I will tell you a few words about the master's course in clinical nutrition at the University of Tartu. So the course director is Professor Forbes, and I am a second-year master student. So if you have attended the previous sessions today, then you have probably heard a lot about Estonia and a lot about Tartu already. But for those of you who haven't, Estonia is a small country in northeastern Europe, and Tartu is the second biggest city. Tartu is also known as the academic capital of Estonia because of the University of Tartu, which is a very good university. The clinical nutrition course itself, I can tell you, it is demanding, but it's also rewarding and entertaining. And it is the only English language course which is focused on clinical nutrition in the EU. So there are other courses that are either in English or focused on clinical nutrition, but not the combination. The first year is mainly about lectures, seminars, and tutorials. So you will have a reason to come to the class every day and do something. The second year is all about the research project and the internships. So this can be different for everyone. For example, I do my research project in Tartu, and I did my internships in Tallinn and also in Stockholm in Sweden. And there is another student who is in Italy at the moment, and there are also plenty of other options. So this is different for everyone, depending on the interests. And then there will be this opportunity to do elective courses and this breaking news module, which is at the end of the second year. The teaching is very interactive, so you will get plenty of opportunity to ask questions and see relevant patients. And assessments include in-course assessments, essays, MCQs, and also the final year master's thesis and end of the course exam. This is a photo of the University of Tartu main building, which is very pretty. And this is a photo of a building where most of the teaching of medical students takes place. This here is the university hospital where our teaching has taken place so far and where I'm also doing my project. So this is the biggest hospital in southern Estonia, and it's very nice and modern. So hospitals have this problem, which is malnutrition, and it increases the morbidity, mortality, and financial costs of illness. But unfortunately, it is often either neglected or not recognized. But right now, fortunately, healthcare systems are beginning to realize the importance of malnutrition, but they quickly run into the problem that there are not enough professionals and experts with the knowledge of clinical nutrition. And for this problem, there is this solution. So this is us, the graduates of the clinical nutrition master's course, who will have the relevant expertise and can help. The clinical nutrition master's course, it has a strong local faculty, so it is multidisciplinary. So if some expert comes, they are expert in their own field and they teach us about their area of expertise, and we can get to learn what to do with nutrition in that area. There will also be a panel of international visiting teachers from all of these countries. So you will get to know them and then maybe also do an elective or an internship in one of these countries. These are just some examples of the lecturers who are coming. So this is Professor Mette Holst from Denmark. This is Professor George Grimble from the UK. And this is one of the local faculty members. So he is Professor Joa Starkov, and he introduced us to the intensive care unit, where we got to measure the energy expenditure of the patients with indirect calorimetry. In addition to all the teaching and the opportunities to see relevant patients, there is also academic research going on in Tartu about clinical nutrition. So these are different research projects that are going on at the moment. I am more involved with the one that is right at the bottom of the page, which is standardized nutritional assessment. If you get any questions about any of the projects mentioned here, then please feel free to email Professor Alistair Forbes, and I'll share his email address at the end of the presentation. But yes, the standardized nutritional assessment project, I actually started it as a part of my master's thesis. So if you join the course, you will also get the opportunity to start your own research projects. So all students who do the clinical nutrition course, they will aim to make at least one presentation at a national meeting, one presentation at an international meeting, and contribute to at least one scientific publication, and maybe even be the first author. So I personally, I have already presented at a national meeting and also written a publication, which I was the first author of, and we are hoping to publish it very soon. And also we will get the opportunity to get me to speak at one of the international meetings. So who can come and join the course? There are plenty of options. So if someone has a background in healthcare, they will probably be able to apply. And if you are not sure whether your background is appropriate for this course, then also please email Professor Forbes and we will figure that out. There is this funny photo of these different hobbits. So we are all different, but we can all learn about clinical nutrition and apply it then in the field which we know about already. And then if you come, you will get the opportunity to live in Tartu, which will also be the European Capital of Culture of 2024. So there will be even more museum exhibitions, theatre plays and concerts than usually. And Tartu is also good for sports, restaurants, shops, bars. And also, as you can see, there is a lot of nature. And here there will be some photos of us doing some Christmas assessment just for you to see the vibe. And that's it. That was just a very, very short overview presentation of the course. So if you have any questions, please feel free to write in the chat, and also do email Professor Forbes, who will be ready to answer all of the questions that you have. So that's it from me. Please write to the chat. I will be here to answer your questions. So is anyone who's here planning to apply? Oh yeah, there's a question. Oh, okay. About my own experience. Okay, that is a good question. What would what do I say? So, first of all, I came here. I didn't really know what to expect. I was interested in nutrition. And when we had the first lectures, it's actually quite funny that I almost didn't realize that they were lectures because they were very much, they felt like a conversation, like a very useful conversation through which we learned a lot. And actually, we were all very enthusiastic about going to the lectures, which was very interesting. And then slowly we began to realize that we are actually learning something which is very useful. And this year, the second year, it has really felt that it is a good environment of learning how to be an independent researcher, and the internships have really broadened the perspective on the area. So there is one more question. How does it differ from the nutrition and dietetics course? That is a very interesting question because in Estonia, there are no dietitians. All the dietitians who we have, they have studied abroad. So in Estonia, the terms dietitian and nutrition specialist, they are often used interchangeably. So there is now this new nutrition specialist qualification in Estonia, which requires 2 years of academic experience, which this course will offer, and then 1 year of practice. And then you'll be able to become a qualified nutrition specialist, which is basically the same thing as a dietitian is in some other countries. But yes, it really depends on the country where you go, how people call the different experts. So that's the main difference. So if you come to Estonia and you ask for dietitians, people would normally just look at you with like, oh, what's that? Not everyone, but many definitely. So with this course, similarities are definitely with dietetics, so that this course prepares people to work in a clinical field and at the hospital. So in that sense, it's very similar to the dietetics. Interview. So the interview for application, someone has asked. So interview, it's mostly about what you wrote in your motivation letter. So if you wrote about your experience, what you have done so far, what you aim to do, it is mostly discussing your views and also your expectations, and it's definitely different for everyone. So for me, it was discussing a bit about what I had written in the motivational letter and then getting asked some questions about my motivations, maybe future plans. So I think it might be different for everyone. But if you want to come and apply, just think of why you want to do it, be honest about your plans, and then you can discuss them and we can see how we can best help you achieve your goals. So next question is about the maximum intake of possible. Okay, how many students can be on the course? So my year was very interesting because it was the very, very first year where this course took place. So there were the first few applicants who only knew about the course, and it was still developing into something it's developing into right now. And on our year, there were 3 students, so me and 2 other students. So we got almost like private lectures, but it has been increasing with every year a lot. So the maximum intake, I can't promise you. You will need to ask the admissions office because I won't give the most accurate information. But to my knowledge, it might be 18 students. But again, I might not be the most reliable source when it comes to the concrete numbers of applicants and numbers of people who will be accepted. Hmm. So the next question are the topics of our final year projects. So that is very much up to the student to decide. So it is whatever you are interested in and what is like possible here. It is often very confusing at the beginning, like what should I do? I'm interested in so many things, I'm learning new things, I don't really know what to do. But when the course goes by, then you will learn about more things and something will catch your interest, and then you can start thinking and reading about it, and then finally there will be the opportunity to do the project. So if you want any input from the professors, you can always ask them what they are doing and whether there would be any possibility to contribute to that. But your own ideas are always very welcome, and then you can let professors know about these ideas, and professors will help find the best people who could supervise the work. Ah, very interesting question. What should an international student prepare for? So, do you mean as in for life in Estonia? Because like it's of course it is a very, very northern country compared to many countries, and definitely you should prepare for cold weathers. You should prepare for very short days and long nights during the winter, which are these are difficult things to prepare for, but also prepare for meeting very hard work. I hope you can still hear me. And yes, so this was about the international students and what they should prepare for. So, is Estonian language necessary to work as a dietitian completing the masters? So it really depends on where you want to work and what you find. And it is important that if you complete this course, there will also be some practical work, a year of practice required before you can qualify as a nutrition specialist in Estonia, who is someone like a dietitian. And Estonian language, to be honest, in most places, if you want to work with Estonians and Estonian patients, then Estonian language will be something that is definitely a big advantage. It is possible that there are places where you could work without it, but it is very, very likely that Estonian language will be required. But the university is very helpful. There are plenty of opportunities here to learn Estonian language and also practice it and get help with it during the studies. So if you really put the effort in, then you can learn it. And also our Professor Forbes, he's from the UK and he started learning Estonian, and now he's also seeing patients in Estonian language. So it is very possible to learn it and work. But yes, I can't promise any jobs. It will be up to you and potential future employers. So Someone has food science academic background. Yes, yes, definitely. Like food science, it is related to food nutrition and it's also a science. So yes, it is possible, definitely. And yes, on our course, for example, I have a background in nutritional science, and one of the course mates has a background in medicine, so she had studied to be a doctor before. And it was quite interesting during the studies. We had so different knowledge. Both of us had good knowledge, but in very different areas. So we could really contribute to each other's learning in that way. So if you have knowledge in food science, then you have done science, you will know more about the scientific part, and the medical clinical parts of the course, they will just require a bit more learning, but it's definitely possible. I did it as well, and it's interesting, and but it's possible. So are there any job opportunities outside of Estonia? So I don't I I don't know what other opportunities there are at the moment. Definitely, if you have got this degree here in Estonia in a recognized university, then it will definitely contribute to your CV and how potential employers will perceive you. But to job opportunities, I am not senior enough to know about that. So if you want to know more about the European and these job opportunities perspectives, then please message or email Professor Alistair Forbes, so he will be able to tell you a bit more about it perhaps than I will. But the course definitely will help to get credibility when you start applying for jobs. But all countries are different and they have their own regulations, own rules. And it will also depend on where you have done your previous academic education, what is your experience, and whether these qualifications from there will be recognized somewhere else. So this is a complicated topic, but the course will definitely help you get more knowledge and credibility. Hmm. Okay. Someone's asking, would Russian language proficiency be enough instead of Estonian language for work? That is a very interesting question because, of course, in Estonia, Estonian language is prepared, not prepared, sorry, preferred. But there are also people working who are not proficient in Estonian language. The university is very much wanting everyone to learn the Estonian language, but Russian language will definitely help because there are many people who do speak Russian here, and it will definitely make it easier to communicate with some people at some workplaces than not knowing not Estonian nor Russian, but Estonian will definitely be encouraged. And if you come here and start learning Estonian as well, and you have the Russian background, then you will definitely be quite well off to find a job. But you'll definitely need to work on Estonian as well, in addition to the Russian. So coming and only speaking Russian and not learning Estonian, that wouldn't be too good. But if you learn Estonian as well, then Russian will help. Okay. Does anyone else have any more questions? Ah, okay. Standardized nutritional assessment, my research topic. Oh, I could tell you so much about it. Hmm, so nutritional assessment. Oh, it is a big one to explain all of my work in these simple few words, but I'll try and do it. So I told you a bit about malnutrition, that it is a problem and it's present in around 30% of hospital patients. And to help these patients, we will need some ways to detect the patients that might need the nutritional intervention. And to detect the people who might need a nutritional intervention, there are many different methods for doing it. And then because there are so many of them, it implies that none of the methods is really perfect. So this is why an international committee came together, like leading experts from the field and from different parts of the world, and they agreed on consensus criteria. How do we diagnose malnutrition? What are the things we are looking at? Because everyone can't be looking at different criteria when they are trying to find the same thing, malnourished patients. So they came up with 5 criteria, but it was like a consensus criteria. So they voted which criteria these should be. And what we are trying to do here is to figure out what exact methods to use to assess these criteria. So these criteria, if someone knows about them, maybe you'll recognize something, but these are 5 criteria. So one is low body mass index, reduced muscle mass, then reduced weight, reduced food intake, and inflammatory condition. So these are the 5 criteria, and we are testing how to exactly measure these criteria to detect the most patients the most accurately who might need our help. And it is actually very interesting because anything else you do in clinical nutrition, you can only do once you have detected the patients that might need the intervention. So if we can standardize it a bit further, find more patients who need our help, then it will hopefully do something good. So, average dietitian salary in Estonia. Oh, very interesting question. I actually don't know because I am still studying and I haven't started working. And the criterion dietitian, I don't know whether it comes up in any resources where you can get information about the salaries. So you could try and look it up and tell me as well, because it's actually a very interesting question. Any part-time opportunities with only English? Again, I don't know. I can't promise you. This is something that you will need to look for and try and arrange for yourself. So we can be here to help. This will also depend on things like visas if you come from some country which requires visa. And yes, it will depend on so many things. So if you're looking for part-time opportunities, it's actually very wise to start thinking about it now and start looking around and asking around. But at the moment, I can't promise any job positions. It's not to say that it's impossible, definitely not impossible, but I don't know what it will take. And you can also maybe message Professor Forbes and maybe he will be able to give you a bit of a better answer to this question. Yes, thank you very much. Hope to see you. Oh, okay. So someone is asking in Estonian language that they are graduating a bachelor's in kehaline kasvatus. Ooh, I don't even know how that is in English, but they have studied sport basically, and they ask whether it is enough of medical background to study clinical nutrition. So I think I think that if you have studied something to do with science and something to do with health, which sport is, then you will be okay. You can definitely, I would recommend you messaging or like not messaging, emailing Professor Forbes about it, and he will be able to tell you more. But I would say that if you have done something related to humans and science, it it should be enough for that. There will definitely be a lot of medicine for you that you need to learn about during the course, which is also what I did actually. I studied nutritional science, it wasn't medical, it was this non-medical nutritional science. And I had to learn about all the diseases, all the medical terminology, and everything to do with that. It was difficult, it's still difficult, but it is, again, it's very possible. And if you already know about sports, if you already know about science, then you'll be okay. But do message Professor Alastair Forbes about it, and he'll be able to give you a definite answer. Is it possible to stay off campus? So do you mean that to do online learning instead of coming to the class, or? Because if you mean that, then the first year where there are many lectures and seminars and tutorials, then it would definitely be better to be on campus, because I attended some of the lectures from online, not many, but some when I was ill or when I had to be in another city. There was this opportunity to connect online, but that's not that convenient, and it's not the same experience. So officially the first year should be on campus, at least in my opinion. Again, you can ask more from Professor Forbes, but that is what impression I have got. And the second year, then yes, it is possible to arrange your own second year, basically, if you choose a research project that doesn't require you to come to campus, then you don't have to be on campus. And if you go on internships, well, you will need to be where the internships are taking place, but you don't necessarily need to be in Tartu on the second year. If you decide to do your project and or your internship in some other city, some other country, maybe a country where you are from, then there will be an opportunity to do that. But the lectures will take place here in person in Tartu. Ah, off campus as in accommodation. Okay, now I saw that. So off campus as in accommodation. Do you mean that to live somewhere other than student housing? Or I'll answer that then as well, and then correct me if I'm wrong. But yes, it is possible to find your own place to live. Uh, so you can look up flats to rent in Tartu from the websites where they rent flats, and then you can find yourself something to rent. So it's very much possible. In Estonia, the student housing tends to be a bit cheaper than the housing that's not only for students, so the normal flats for renting. But if you go together with some other students, then the prices might not be that bad. And if you can afford to live on your own, then you are very much free to do it. So it is definitely not compulsory to live in the student housing. Okay, so in the meanwhile, when we don't have any more questions, I wanted to tell a bit more about the question where someone asked whether they can come and join with a sports background. So it is actually very interesting when we have people with different backgrounds. So as I mentioned before, I had background in science, someone else had in medicine. So someone this year actually has in psychology, some other is a doctor, someone is a dietitian, someone is can be a some from sports. So it is very interesting how people bring their own knowledge, and this will actually also improve the content of the lectures where everyone can ask about their own field of interest and make comments and discuss. So everyone will learn more about these other fields of interests of other students. So I definitely benefited from one of the course mates being from and having learned medicine before. Mm. So which country am I from and where did I study nutritional science? I am from Estonia, so this is my home country. And I studied in the UK in London. So yes, this is me. And the best thing about Estonia, it is such a big question. What is the best thing about Estonia? I can tell you several things. I can't bring out one best thing. But what I really like about Estonia is that there is a lot of space. Like people, the population density is not very big. It's like, of course, personal preferences. One might prefer one option, one might prefer the other. But in Estonia, you'll always have space and you'll always be near the nature. So some international students have laughed about it at the beginning when they are on the bus and they see the forests on both sides of the road and they think, why am I in the forests? And so actually it's just what Estonia is. There are also the cities, but the forest is everywhere and it's nice, it's calm, it's peaceful, and people are, as I mentioned before, very hardworking and they really take things seriously. If an Estonian wants to do a project with you, they will want to do the project with you, for example. So I find Estonians very hardworking and very reliable. And also it's very clean in Estonia. I like it. The streets are very beautiful and clean and it's yeah, it feels nice to be in Estonia. So there is a question about whether Russian is considered a hard language to learn and how easy is it to learn Estonian? So Russian, I think Russian is very different from Estonian. So Russian and Estonian languages are not similar. Estonian language is only similar to Finnish language, and to some degree it's similar to the Hungarian language. But Russian language is different. So it is definitely at the beginning, it is difficult to learn Estonian. But once you are in this environment and once you learn something and you're not afraid to practice it, it will of course be possible. But I think Estonian is considered quite a difficult language to learn. And I also believe that, like, although languages can be difficult, if you really learn them, if you really try and use them, even if you make many, many mistakes at the beginning, you will be able to speak the language quite soon. Can't promise you anything again, but yes. Scholarship. So there are questions about scholarships. I'm also not the right person to ask. I think you can write to either the admissions or to Professor Forbes about it, so I can't arrange any scholarships. But what I can tell you about the funding is that there are sometimes opportunities in your own countries for getting scholarships. So me as an Estonian, I had some like there are some funds that are meant for Estonians who want to do something like get some academic education, do something that's actually valuable, and then I apply and then they can help me with the funding. So these kinds of things can also be possible in other countries. Again, I don't know about your country, but if you research it a bit and see whether your country has any funds for students wanting to go abroad and study, then you can look into them, and it is possible that they will be able to help you. But from the Estonian point of view, I am not entirely sure whether there will be any scholarships or not. But it should be possible to find something from somewhere if you really want to. Don't know about your countries, but it has proved true in my case that it is possible to find funds that support students who want to do something valuable. So there is a question about how long do the winters last in Estonia, and does it even get sun? Well, at the moment in January, it feels like it doesn't get any sun, but it's obviously it's not entirely true. We also get some sun, but yeah, the winters are quite long in here. Depends what you call a winter, but the snow comes in late November, December, and stays in recent years. It stays until like March, February, March. But yes, can be different. And in the summer, it's of course there is sun as well. It's not that bad in the summer. The temperature is like it's like 20 degrees or something like that. So it's not that bad. But during the winter, the days are quite short indeed. Depends where you're coming from, but coming from abroad, yes, it is important to keep the vitamin D high, as you have mentioned. And Estonians are normally quite aware of the vitamin D, so they always take it. So it's possible to survive the winters. But you know, some like it, the snow and the cold. It's proper, like it's a proper winter wonderland sometimes. There is the Santa Claus somewhere during December, and opportunities to do skiing, ice skating, and yes, spend time in the snow. But when the spring comes, then we will get some sun as well. So it's not that bad. Okay. Does someone else have any questions? Okay. Another question. Acceptance rate. Okay, interesting question. I also don't know the statistics about that. So you could ask the question from Professor Forbes. So I haven't looked into it. But I think if you have the right qualifications, if you have your English language certificate, if you need to get the visa, you get the visa. And if you're interested in clinical nutrition and have all the relevant qualifications and papers, then you'll be okay. Are houses and universities centrally heated in Estonia? Oh, this will make me look stupid, but I don't know too much about heating. I think some buildings definitely are. Well, Estonians are, I would say, quite particular about the heating. because when I lived in the UK, I found that buildings were much colder. But when I came to Estonia, then everyone was quite worried about the room temperature and everyone wanted it to be very, very warm. So I often find Estonian houses like very warm so that I want to open the window. So it's definitely not cold in the houses in Estonia. It's really, there is a lot of effort put in the heating. Mm. Is pharmacy qualification eligible for the program? Yes, pharmacy sounds like something that is a background which is eligible. You're, so you should be okay. You should be able to apply. But if you have any questions, if you want to be 100% sure, then you should message Professor Forbes about it. Okay. So many good questions. Soon you'll know everything about Estonia and about the course. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay. So how is the marking done for exams? I haven't marked the exams. I don't really know, but I think it's like if you look up the Estonian marking system, then it will follow the Estonian marking system. So if there is a test where you get questions, you can get to mark the correct answers, and then it will see how many of the answers did you get right, and there will be ranges of different grades. So that's how it is for these multiple choice questions. But if the exam is an essay, then it will be marked as essays are marked. I haven't marked any essays yet, so I can't answer that 100%. But it will like make sense. The marking it won't be like unnecessarily strict, or it won't be too what's the word? Not strict. So it will be fair, the marking. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the course, the content of the course, or maybe ooh, is there a gym on university campus? I am going to a gym that is not on the university campus, but I have heard that there should be a gym somewhere that is meant for the students, but I'm not entirely sure whether that is true. So you should Google about it. I'm sorry, I don't know that answer. And there will definitely be student organizations who have their own facilities. So this is something that Tartu is very good for different student organizations. So they will probably have their own facilities, their own opportunities to do activities. Maybe activities like going to the gym. I don't know. It's possible. Mm-hmm. So, hospital internship part. Yes. So the internship is part of the course, and the internship can be done where you want to do it. So at the moment, one student is doing it here in our hospital and can go with the nutrition team and see how everything is done in practice. And I did two internships so far, and I'll probably do a third one if I get the time for it. So there is a number of weeks that you need to do the internship for, and I have done some of these weeks already, and I did one in Tallinn, which was in the pediatric psychiatric clinic because I was interested in the eating disorders. And then the second one I did at the Karolinska Institute, which is the medical hospital in a medical university, sorry, in Sweden, Stockholm. So you will definitely get some hospital experience if you want to get it. So any Asians in the clinical nutrition course so far? Yes, there are a few Asians. So my, I think, I don't know, I can't remember 100% where exactly they were from, but there are a few Asians who are doing the course at the moment. Yes, so mhm. So again, the question about the clinical nutritionist and dietitian. So this is somewhat of a gray area, I think, because in Estonia, this the specialist is called a nutrition specialist, and it needs to have had 2 years of academic experience and 1 year of practice, and then can get the qualification and do the work that is very similar to what a dietitian is doing in the UK, for example. But definitely, if someone is from the UK working as a dietitian there, they would have their own opinion about it, that no, it's not exactly the same. So I think it's very specific to the country. But I think you can't really get any closer to what a dietitian is doing on with any other background in Estonia. So the nutrition specialist will be someone who's as similar to a dietitian as it gets in Estonia. And yes, since this qualification is very new here, and as I mentioned that there are not many experts in the field yet. So it will also be up to us who are now studying it and qualifying, like what we will be able to do, and who we will be able to work as. Hmm. Hmm. How do I see future prospect of a clinical nutritionist? Jobs as job hunting easy. Oh, do you mean like specifically about me or in general about job hunting as a clinical nutritionist? In general, okay. So again, depends on the country. So in Estonia, if I have studied the clinical nutrition course, I am fluent in the local language. Anywhere I go in any healthcare setting, if someone gets to know that I have nutritional knowledge, they will be telling me that, oh, what do I do? I need this, I need this. And there is definitely a need for clinical nutritionists, but it is also very, very much country specific. So I haven't tried looking for a job as a clinical nutritionist yet, as I'm still doing my studies. And also, I was doing my studies in the UK, so I don't know how that is going to turn out, but there is definitely a need for the experts in clinical nutrition. So, are Estonians fluent in English? Yes, I think the answer is rather yes. So depends who you talk to. If you talk to people of more some what's the right word? More aged older generations. So older generations are a bit less fluent than the younger generations. We are learning Estonian from the first grade now in Estonian schools. Some start in second or third, but everyone has learned it, and we watch TV in English, and I think it is difficult to find a young person in Estonia who can't speak a word of English, so everyone can speak something. And yes, so mostly yes, Estonians are fluent in English. Although yes, you will always find people who can't speak it, but in general, compared to many places, Estonian can speak good English. Okay. Does anyone have any more questions? Because I think we are nearing to the end of the webinar, which will be in 2 minutes. Planning a PhD. Yes, it is possible to plan a PhD here if you have your good academic background. So at the moment, I am actually planning it. I'm planning to apply for it. Let's see how that goes. I can tell you more about it later. But it is possible if you have interest in research, then University of Tartu is very much interested in research. The Tartu Hospital, whether it's the largest, I can't tell you whether it's the largest. There is also a very large hospital in Tallinn, but it's definitely one of the largest hospitals. And I think the largest in southern Estonia. There is one huge one in Tallinn. So probably not the largest, but I can't promise you. Again, you can double check the fact. It's a big hospital anyway. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for attending. Someone saying thank you. And thank you. Thank you for asking all the questions. It was very interesting. And I hope to see you. Okay, thank you very much. I'll end the webinar then, and feel free to message me or Professor Forbes. I have written the email addresses to the chat, so they should be correct. So if you want to email us with more questions. Thank you. Bye.